12 tangent squared x minus 2 tangent x equals 2. And so this is another quadratic trig function, and we'll do it in the same manner. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Now I have a 0 such on one side such that I can create independent factors. I'm going to divide everything by 2. So I'm going to get 6 tangent squared x minus tangent x minus 1 equals 0. 6 times negative 1 is equal to negative 6. Factored pairs of negative 6 that add up to negative 1. That would be what, negative 3 times 2. Because negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, but negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. So that informs me how to split up my middle term. So I have 6 tangent squared x minus 3 tangent x plus 2 tangent x minus 1 equals 0. I'm going to group these two guys together and group these two guys together. And from this pair, I'm going to factor 3 tangent x. And so I get 3 tangent x times what's left, which is 2 tangent x minus 1 plus, and I'm going to factor a 1 from that guy, so I just have plus 1 times 2 tangent x minus 1 equals 0. And so this is the same as that, which means I can factor these guys from their two terms. And so I get 2 tangent x minus 1 times 3 tangent x plus 1 plus 1. All of that equal to 0. And now I have independent factors, and I can set 2 tangent x minus 1 equal to 0, and independently of that, 3 tangent x plus 1 equal to 0. Add 1 to both sides and divide both sides by 2 to get tangent x is equal to 1/2. And subtract 1 from both sides and divide both sides by 3 to get tangent x is equal to negative 1/3. Both of those will result in answers, and in fact we'll have 4 answers for this guy. We should. Yeah, so this 1/2 guy is going to be, I think the other one we're going to have to put in a calculator. Oh, we're going to have to put both of them in a calculator because this is not going to work out nicely. Yeah. We're going to actually change this calculator to degree mode, I think. Degrees. Okay. Okay, so we're in degree mode. And so we want to take the inverse tangent of 1/2. So this is the inverse tangent of 1/2, and I get 26.56 degrees. So what you need to know when you're doing this is 26.56 degrees. So I get 26.56 degrees. Okay. This is one quadrant where tangent is positive. But there's another value for x that will also result in a positive tangent. And what would that angle be if I had a reference angle of 26.56? So one of my answers on this left side for this one is 26.56 degrees. And also the second one's going to be this, 180 plus another 26.56. So it turns out to be 206.56 degrees. And we're going to end up having to do the same thing on the right-hand side. So the right-hand side, I'm going to have a negative 1/3. So I have a negative tangent. And tangent is negative in the second quadrant and the third quadrant. Because this x is negative and this y is positive, and this x is positive and this y is negative over in the fourth quadrant. So the second and fourth quadrant. And so when I'm going to have to go to my calculator and substitute in negative 1/3. And so I'm going to take the inverse tangent of negative 1 divided by 3, close parentheses, and I get negative 18 degrees. So negative 1843. Negative 1843. And what they're talking about is this. Negative 1843 degrees. Remember, inverse tangent's only going to give you angles in this hemisphere. So you need to scrutinize this negative 18 degrees. So you can enter it certainly as negative 18.43 degrees. But there's a second answer. What's that guy? So that's also going to be the same reference angle, 18.43 degrees. And so we're going to take 180 minus 1843 this time. So 180 minus 20 is 160. And so we're going to have 161.57 degrees. All right, so these four values, these four angle measures, when substituted back into this equation for x, actually I should go back to the original. Where's it at here? When it's substituted back in for this x, will end up on the left-hand side becoming 2. All right, so that's that guy. That one's fairly complicated.